New at 3, tensions are growing in the Bluff City after claims that the Memphis Safe Task Force is targeting the Hispanic community. In a news conference yesterday, Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris said that most of the arrests made by the task force so far stem from traffic stops that led to immigration arrest. Here to share his thoughts and address the Hispanic community's concerns, Mauricio Calvo, president of Latino Memphis. Mauricio, always glad to have you here at 3 at 3.
Thanks for having me.
We heard yesterday Shelby County Mayor accusing the Memphis Safe Task Force of unlawful stops and racial profiling. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting calls at the office where people are just being pulled over and no tickets are issued. They're pulled over.
Pulled over, no tickets?
Yeah, I mean, they're pulled over by a state trooper who's followed by ICE officers, and they're just being pulled. And again, if this is not true, we would like to see the evidence. We would like to see, the traffic violations of the charges against these individuals. So, it's very concerning, right? I mean, the task force was supposed to be here targeting, violent criminals, and maybe they are. I'm sure they are. But as you mentioned, it's a disproportionate number of immigrants that are getting caught. Yeah.
So when it comes to the legal status of some of the folks who are being pulled over, being arrested, maybe in some cases, what are you seeing there? What are you hearing?
It's all over the place. We're seeing people who, have work permits, people who just are committing minor infractions. It's a little all over the place. Alex, I really think that we are at a point in Memphis and in our country where we have to kind of think about how do we reconcile these things and what are we going to do about it? Because I feel like we lose people when we say the task force shouldn't be here or should be here, or the National Guard is, or that, or immigrants. And if I may, I just want to tell 3 quick things because I think that's important. The number one thing that I hear from people is, these people should become legal. They should get in line. And fact check me on this, but I would love to people to understand that for most of these individuals, there is no line. There's no amount of time or money that will allow them to create a pathway for them to become citizens. If there was one, they will take it. I promise you they would. The number 2 issue that we see here is that people say, we're a country of laws, and I agree with that. So if we're going to do that, we need to play fair. These individuals cannot be stopped by racial profiling. They need to be detained for a valid reason, and they need to be given a warrant, or they need to have a process by which a due process, by they can have an attorney, go to see a judge, all of these things that we so believe. So because we cannot have, hey, we want to be a country of laws, but yet when we detain people, because even people who break the law have rights, right? And we're not doing that. And the third part of that is that this is really going to have a tremendous impact in the Memphis economy. Memphis is not a city that is necessarily growing, right? We are shrinking, or we're growing very, very slowly.
So are you concerned about people actually either moving here or visiting here or just going out to a restaurant, or what? The number 1 call that we're getting at the office is people asking, how do I live? How do I self-deport? In my 17 years at Latino Memphis, I don't recall ever getting a call of this. And this is the number 1 issue that we're getting. People are leaving. And this is going to have a tremendous impact because these are essential workers that are doing construction, landscaping, services. And I know I'm generalizing or stereotyping, but a large number of the Latino community is doing this work. And there are your customers, and there are your tenants, and there are people who are consuming. So you're saying there will be a ripple effect if it's already not out there?
Look, by the numbers, in the last couple of weeks, probably more than 200 people, if not more, have been detained. And again, part of that is lack of clarity.
Right.
That's 200 families. I mean, those families are going to move out. If we continue at this rate, we're talking about hundreds of families that will be living in a city that is not necessarily growing.
So obviously not just impacting the Latino community, but the community as a whole.
Absolutely, we're in this together. Right. And again, I think people don't have to agree with everything I say, but I think we need to fact check and say, hey, let's have a conversation about how to fix this problem.
Right.
It cannot just be an enforcement only. We need to create, I understand that people broke the law to be here. I guarantee you that most of us, if we were in a country, we will probably do the same thing. And again, there are no pathways, and that is the most frustrating thing.
We're also hearing about the possibility that Mayor Lee Harris said yesterday that he's looking to possibly filing some type of legal action against the task force. Would you support that? Do you think it'll do any good?
I'm not a lawyer, and I think that to the extent that somebody's breaking the law, again, if we're going to be fair, there's nobody above the law, including the task force, right? And if they're making illegal arrests, they should be taken to court. And I understand they say they came here for violent criminals. If that's what they're going to do, that's one thing. If they're picking up people, and it's a double standard because we allow these people to come here and benefit from them, and we don't allow them to stay.
One last thing I do want to ask you about. Paint this picture very quickly for me. When it comes to those folks who are going to see a doctor, is that stopping them from going to see doctors? Is it stopping them from going to church? What are you seeing? What are you hearing there?
I talked to a big provider here in town and told me that 8 out of 10 people with Latino surnames were not showing up for appointments. That is dangerous. Nobody should have to think about, should I call 911 or should I go to the doctor or should I go to work for fear of their freedom. Even if they're not here legally, there should be some remedy to that. And I think we're going to see the consequences on these children and the economy and our democracy, honestly.
Mauricio Calvo, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's keep having this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you.